If I'm an Appcast of the world, even the Indeeds of the world,
Yeah.
I would be worried because companies like us have figured out, and particularly now with the market being the way that it is, we're just like scraping it like, give me more candidates, baby, because I'm going to need them one day, but I don't want to pay for them. But like it's totally like diminishing their relevance. In a lot of ways.
All right, let's do this. We are live from the gym booth at Unleash in beautiful Las Vegas. This is the hungover edition of the Chad and Cheese podcast.
Thank God
I am
for
Joel
High Bob
Cheeseman, your
coffee.
co-host. Always with me, Chad Sowash, as much as I try to get rid of him. And we are just ecstatic to welcome.
You can't quit me.
Can't quit me, that's right. Meghan Rhatigan, VP of TA at Marriott. Marriott like Chariot.
Just so
Get it
I
right,
got
kids.
it right.
Get it right, kids.
Marriott
Meghan,
like Chariot.
Meghan,
Marriott
welcome
like Chariot.
again.
Thank you.
Two-time guest on HR's Most Dangerous podcast.
Her first one isn't out yet.
Yeah.
So we can't count it till it's actually out.
Is there a chance we won't release it?
It's very possible.
But it's going to be.
She's still been a guest twice.
It's a part of an AI Sessions, which is season 3. It's a very special season. It's going to come out later this year. So you're going to see her again.
Yes.
So she's not live yet, but she has been a guest twice.
Right.
Is that fair?
Let's just say she's been exposed to Chad and Cheese.
Which means if it hasn't been aired yet, our listeners, viewers don't know who you are. So give us the elevator pitch.
All right. So I have been within the HR space about 20-ish years, 15 of those years with Marriott. I've done the rotation between TA, organizational change management, back in TA, now leading the tech operations strategy area. So everything that touches a candidate, hiring manager, recruiter, falls under my space.
Change management. Okay. This, for me, is the most interesting because we don't focus enough on change management in TA, and we're literally changing all the time.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how long have you been doing change management inside of TA?
I have been doing it for about 3 years.
Okay.
So I did it within Marriott for about 5 years, and then I made the transition into TA when we were needing to do a big transformation post-pandemic. Like we weren't hiring fast enough. We didn't have the right technology. We were totally caught flat-footed.
Yeah.
And we needed to basically transform everything we were doing, and so I came in to help do that and drive that forward. Yep.
So talk a little bit about that, because after COVID, huge transformation necessary because obviously that pandemic bomb dropped. But then moving forward now with tech and how fast tech is moving and how tech stacks are being skinnied down, they're being added to.
Yep.
Did you just automatically flow into those positions around technology as well as just basic ops?
Yes. I mean, so Marriott, like other companies right now, we're trying to figure out how to do more with less.
Yeah.
We're in growth mode right now. So we just acquired Citizen M last week. We're trying to figure out how do we continue to scale.
Yeah.
But from like an HR perspective and directive, we're not adding headcount. So we got to figure out how to double in size without adding headcount. And that is applicable, of course, to our recruiting team.
Right.
And so we need to figure out how do we continue to scale using technology and other opportunities, but headcount's not the option. Can't do that. Not anymore. So
15 years, which means you started when you were 10 at Marriott.
Yeah, totally.
You've seen a lot of things come and go, and I always love the veterans that come on the show for perspective for the kids. Talk about the industry when you started.
Oh, God.
And what has changed in that 15-year period.
History lesson.
Yep.
Well, when I started in HR, I was inputting information from faxed forms. So,
I remember those days.
Yeah.
Wow.
Started
I remember
there.
those
2010, you were still doing faxes?
No, that was before 2010. But in 2010, let's see, that was the world of outsourcing. Like everybody was looking at BPO, outsourcing, shared services.
Yeah.
And taking all of like the administrative tasks off of HR and trying to put into this gigantic shared service model. We did that, like including in recruiting, and we had a big RPO, like for 15 years. But post-pandemic, we made the decision to bring that in-house for a number of reasons. Like it was very easy to scale back in those days, like by outsourcing everything.
Right.
But then you got too far away from the business. Like we were basically like glorified vendor managers instead of like running a recruiting shop.
Yeah.
And that's actually part of what got us into trouble post-pandemic, is because like we weren't close enough to the work to even know what to begin to scale. And
you didn't have the infrastructure. You didn't have the connections. I mean, the connective tissue goes away when you go into an RPO scenario.
Yeah, exactly. So like 15 years ago, it was about outsource, get it out.
Yeah.
But I think we took it too far, and we needed to pull it back real quick.
It's usually how it works.
Yeah.
It's usually how it works.
So the pandemic hits, you guys take control. What learnings did you have in the last 5 years in terms of technology, what works, what doesn't, what was the vision? I know branding is really important to you. Talk about that 5-year period of how things evolved.
So when the pandemic hit, we're in the hospitality travel industry. We were severely hit. Like we closed at one point, like 70% of our hotels just shut down.
Wow.
When
70,
yeah.
Wow.
Insane, right?
Yes.
When
and the Ritz-Carlton still wouldn't take my reservation, just so you know.
Well, especially then.
Very upset about that.
When the world started to come back and people were now itching to travel, like leisure travel went gangbusters, but because we couldn't hire fast enough, we actually couldn't open up the door. So our customer demand was like skyrocketing, but we couldn't meet the customer demand because we couldn't hire fast enough. And like us, like everybody else, was dealing with this employment market where there weren't people to hire. Like nobody was really that motivated to come back, particularly to frontline. And speed was everything, and we did not know how to operate in a like fast-paced recruiting environment, because we were living in la la land of being Marriott and having 300 people to choose from and taking our time, and no matter how shitty our application process was or how long it took, they were still like really excited to come.
It is what it is.
It is what it is. But then until in the pandemic, until it's not, like then it was like, no, wait, actually, like you're one of like 15 options I have, and you didn't get to me first, so therefore I'm not coming on board. So like we were in a major problem where we couldn't open hotels. And so we were like, all right, we got to basically like clear the slate, start over. We got to figure out how to do this quickly and introduce automation. So that's where like the paradox piece started to come in. Because when we looked at our process, like the biggest time suck was interviewing. It's just like hiring managers weren't motivated to do it. It's a pain in the ass to have to deal with candidates and all their like scheduling requests and all that. So we're like, let's start with interview scheduling. And by the way, like we called it automation, not AI, because nobody was wanting to touch AI. Still is a little bit that way.
So
but
that was a way to actually get the project to go further without questions.
Correct. Yeah, because it was a process that nobody cared about, that was very low risk but had high impact in terms of like that was what was taking the most amount of time. So that was kind of the first impetus to us moving a bit faster to be able to meet the customer demand with hiring.
Here at the Chad and Cheese Podcast, one thing that we love is obviously you watching, but also like and subscribe.
How long have you been on Paradox?
About a little over 2 years now.
2 years.
Yeah.
So a little bit of historical data. I'm curious. So when I go to your career site, I have sort of a traditional search box, and then I have Olivia in the corner.
Yeah.
What's the divide between the people who are engaging with a chatbot versus I'm just going to put in my search and do it that way? And how has that evolved?
Yeah. So it's interesting. We actually see higher conversion rates with the people who use Olivia to do their job search than we do with people who just like start with the bar. And I think that's because people are honestly, like the chatbot is there. People are used to seeing it on the consumer side. We're now like finally introducing it on the employment side, and it's just easy. And like I'd rather ask a question, show me housekeeping jobs in Scottsdale, Arizona, and I get a bunch, than me having to like type in my zip code and like I don't know, whatever else it's asking me to do. I can just ask a question. And I think like for us, like that whole agentic idea is very appealing.
But do you know a divide between what percentage does the search versus the chatbot?
I would say if I were to just like ballpark it, I would say like honestly 60% of the people are using the search, because the way that we've designed it, and this is a design choice, we have that pop-up actually overlay the search bar.
Yep.
Like when you're on a mobile phone, you'll see the actual chat pop up first and foremost.
So 60% are using Olivia, the chat experience.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you surprised by that number, or is that kind of what you expected?
I'm a little bit surprised by the number, because honestly, like the search bar thing was something that people were so used to, and I thought, I don't know if they're going to want to talk to somebody. Yeah. But no, like it's actually been easier for them to have the conversation.
Well, I mean, candidates don't feel like they're heard in the first place, so it kind of, if you think about it, it's like, oh, wait a minute, I can now be heard.
Yes.
Whether it's a chatbot or not a chatbot, at least if I want to ask questions, I have the ability, where before it was just a search box.
Right.
I could just apply. Now, what's the difference between the application process? I would assume that it's huge because you were looking for speed. Are most applications happening through conversational AI, or is that literally just helping them understand and then they're going through more of a traditional type of?
Yeah, for us right now, it's just the traditional type apply.
Okay.
I will tell you though, we want to get to that conversational experience, but the market isn't driving that right now.
Yeah.
Like we have too many candidates at the moment, so putting our focus on that type of technology at this moment where the market isn't necessarily one where we want to spend a whole lot of time.
Right.
But you know, it from a candidate experience, it makes a lot of sense. It's just like I always get told the second I bring it up, do we really need more candidates? I'm like, okay, you're right, we don't. So,
but the thing is, you can't be caught off guard, because when the market turns, the market turns. And if you can't meet the market where it is,
then we're screwed.
Then you're screwed, right?
Exactly.
And in light of that, we talked to a lot of bigger companies that are pretty, in some cases, greatly reducing their reliance on, say, job boards.
Yes.
How has this new reality impacted where you guys spend your money or maybe take money away?
So for us, like we've put a lot. So we launched a new employment brand a little over a year and a half ago. Organic traffic is king. I would say that we focus most of our efforts, honestly, on driving organic traffic, just because paid traffic is so fucking whatever. Chat and cheese, right?
Yeah.
You say that, expensive.
Yeah.
And so for us, like I think we talked about this the last time, like the SEO thing is a big thing. Paradox actually does a really great job with their career site and SEO and driving that. But organic traffic gets us the best quality candidates. They're the ones who stay the longest, and we're running right now at about 60 to 70% organic traffic, which is really, really, really good.
Yeah.
But we also are Marriott. But it's a very big focus for us.
When you say organic, are you actively on Google for jobs? No.
Organic means like there are people out there that want to work for us, and so they're coming to our site
directly.
Marriott.careers.com, and they're saying, I want to work here, and they're engaging with Olivia and finding a job. But it's all about awareness too. So we do a lot through like CRM campaigns and silver medalist candidates, and like the second we've got a housekeeping job open, we retarget the folks that just applied
in your database already.
In our database,
because you've already paid for them.
Yeah, we don't buy or subscribe to an external database. We don't need to. We've got 10 million candidates on our own, and so we're just
amen, sister.
Something interesting this morning. I don't know if this is standardized or not, but when I did a search on Google for Marriott jobs, expecting Google for jobs, and it was direct jobs to Marriott, just their jobs. So there were no job boards presented in that search. I don't know if that's something Google's doing more and more of, but they just go directly to you from Google.
Right. Yeah, that's and by the way, it actually took a lot for that experience to happen, because originally it was Indeed that was top, and and then we were second, and so we put a lot into making sure Indeed was not top.
How did you do that?
We worked with Paradox and actually did a lot of work on trying to see what was taking away our SEO. And also with Indeed, we do partner with them. We have to, right? They're the 800-pound gorilla. But we've started to pull back on sponsorship quite significantly so that it actually does help our organic SEO so that we don't have as much competing, right?
Yeah.
SEO when it comes to job search. So we're like pulling back on the paid so that Indeed doesn't have as much leverage to come on top of us.
What an interesting strategy. Reduce job board spend to help your own Google traffic.
Build
free
your
traffic.
own brand.
Yeah, that's
that kind of
fascinating.
thing.
Okay.
Well, not to mention, I mean, how many candidates do you have in the database?
10 million.
10 million. So again, you've already paid for those, and there's so many companies that are literally, as soon as a job opens, they just spray it out to the Indeeds and the ZipRecruiters and whatnot, and they pay for the same candidates over and over and over and over. Same once.
Yeah, and they're probably bad quality because there's a reason why you didn't hire them in the first place.
See? Yeah. So, but I mean, it's and we've talked to companies about retargeting, and Matt Lavery at UPS, they had to do 150,000 hires, 15,000 hires in 6 weeks, and 30,000 of those were ones that they retargeted. Yeah. So they didn't have to spend money to get 30,000 of those, and that was like version 1. He's like, it's going to get bigger and better, and we're hearing the same thing from companies like, companies using Paradox and Gem and Fountain, and it's like that seems to be the big cycle where it's like, look, we know what we have. We finally know what we have, and we're going to use it. Yep. Do you feel the industry is kind of like moving that way quickly? Yeah. Yeah? I do. I shouldn't say this because we are an Appcast customer, but I mean, I would be worried. Like if I'm an Appcast of the world, even the Indeeds of the world, I would be worried because companies like us have figured out, and particularly now with the market being the way that it is, we're just like scraping it like, give me more candidates, baby, because I'm going to need them one day, but I don't want to pay for them. But like it's totally like diminishing their relevance. In a lot of ways. Well, okay. So quick question. We've been hearing a lot from like Chris Foreman, former CEO of Appcast, and Indeed, talking about you're not going to be able to utilize some of these services unless you start giving them disposition data. Yeah. Which to me is total bullshit because it's none of your damn business who I hired. That's not your job. That's my job.
Because they're trying to get into the quality game. Like, so they want our disposition data so that they can put it into their database and be able to put like a quality marker on people.
Yeah, but if they had good tech in the first place and they knew what the requirements are, they can match those up against the candidates that they have in their database. It feels like they're trying to over-engineer a solution so that they can get to your data. And they're saying, hey, guess what? This is how we fix the problem. It's like, no, it's not. Yeah. The problem is up funnel. It's not down funnel.
No.
So I would assume that you're hearing a lot of that. Hey, we want the disposition data because it's going to be better for you.
Right. Well, it's not even disposition data. It's data up and down the funnel.
Oh yeah.
Like they want to see everything, and we're like, no. Like you cannot have. Like why would we give that to you?
Sure.
There's no benefit to us.
It doesn't make any sense. Other than they say it's better quality, and I'm like, no. That's better quality is better matching. Go do your job.
Yeah.
Right.
So percentage-wise, how much less are you spending on sort of traditional job boards?
We've gone down about 30% this year, and I honestly want to be at 50% by next year easily.
Yeah. 25 to 50 is where a lot of companies are landing, which is interesting.
Yep.
So a lot more organic, a lot more quality.
Yep.
What else are you doing organically? I know you guys have a really strong social media footprint. What are you doing organically in other ways to drive traffic and brand awareness?
Yeah, so utilizing our CRM, putting out campaigns around, so we've got this whole blog around life at Marriott. So like the realistic job preview, it's a big untapped market, I think, particularly for us in frontline. Like the reason why people quit, like the quick quits happen because they didn't know what they were getting into with the job, not because like expectations.
Yeah.
And so if we, as much as we can do up front to set the expectations around like what the job is, like the better off we are, because then we've got better quality coming in. People actually know what they're getting into and they're not going to quit. But it also helps us too, from an attraction standpoint, to be able to target like, hey, these are the people who actually want a job with us. Like, it's not about volume per se, even though, we got 10 million candidates, but I actually want the people who have an idea of what it's going to be like, are attracted to that, and then apply having already seen some of that content. And so for us, that's really what we're trying to get into, is like giving the people the expectation, having those people apply anyway, and being able to track those people who see engage with the content and be able to target those in terms of like who we're actually scheduling for an interview, because we know that they want it.
Well, we're starting to see, and we should have known anyway, but we're starting to see that transparency is a superpower.
Oh, for sure.
Because they know what the salary is.
Right.
They know what the actual job is like. And we've talked about like some of these startups that say, hey, look, you're going to work 80 hours a week. Mm-hmm. And they say that up front. Yeah. And that's just so that you don't get in there and then the expectations are, what do you mean I'm going to be working 80 hours a week, right? So it automatically allows you to self-extract, out of the whole process. So, I mean, it makes more sense. And I mean, even though we're looking at Europe and there's some regulations in states being more transparent. Yeah. It really feels like we're still moving in that direction, even though employers have more power now, just from the market dynamic. It still feels like we're moving that way.
Yeah, and I was talking to Joel about this. I've got this idea in my head, and I'm like really, really excited about it. And that's like designing for the disappointed, because we spend a lot of time on the 1%, meaning like putting our focus on what is our hiring experience for the people who actually get a job. Yeah. But what about the 99% of people who don't? Right. Like, they're the ones who actually we should be more transparent with them as to why, like what can they do better and stuff like that. So like, totally agree with the transparency. And even it's applicable not only to the people who are looking for the job and haven't engaged, but also the people who maybe got like halfway through the funnel and fell out. Why? Yeah. Like they want to know why. Yeah. And right now it's like a big black hole, and it's a shitty experience for most people. So, yeah.
Don't want that.
No.
And are you guys using anything like Dahlia to capture people that aren't?
No.
You're smiling as if you've gotten a pitch from them at some point.
Interestingly enough, I have. There's a
couple. I'm sure there aren't many that you haven't gotten a pitch from.
True.
We'll get to vendors in a second.
Right.
But, capturing those people is something that you're talking about. Yeah.
But I see the value, and they're in Dahlia, and there's there's a lot of companies who really benefit from them. I think for us, because of our database and the use of our CRM, it's not a need that we have, and not an immediate need that we have to layer in an additional provider there. We can just use our CRM and kind of organically engage and keep track of them that way. But I don't know. I don't need them quite yet.
Not there yet. It's not priority.
It's not a priority. Yeah.
What is priority?
So for us, I would say that it's like the experience has been a big thing. Our application is still a slog. I want to provide more transparency.
So why is it still a slog? Because you know it's a slog.
Yeah, it's a slog because we've got, we're attached to an HCM.
Okay.
And the HCMs haven't necessarily put a lot of focus on
experience,
right? And so for us, it's looking at, is there a layer? Is there like an overlay? Like really, that's where my focus on, like, is there an experience layer that I can look at that would go over that ATS that I can't get rid of? I can't get rid of my ATS, but at least I can make my application experience a little bit better. Also looking at the agent thing is really interesting to me. Nobody's quite gotten there yet in terms of their ability to execute, but I'm really excited about agents and what it can do, not only for like the internal recruiting aspect, but also externally in the candidate experience. Like, it seems as though the agents have really evolved on the consumer side. Yeah. But for us on the HR recruiting side, they're really frustrating. And if like, it's so interesting to me, the dichotomy between like an agent that sits on a recruiting tech and how quickly you get to a roadblock there. But then when you engage with an agent that's on the consumer side, it seems, you can have a 15-minute conversation and not run into a roadblock. It's like, where are we? what's the gap? So that's, I went on a little tangent there, but it's like real frustrating to me. It's like the technology exists. Get there.
Yes.
Yeah. So experience for me is what I'm focused on, between agents and layers and all that. Yeah.
Let's get political for a second.
Yep.
Oh, no.
Obviously, a lot of issues that are in the headlines affect you.
Yep.
Immigration. I'm sure you count on a lot of immigrants to do a lot of the jobs at your hotels. The attack on diversity. I know you guys are really focused on a diverse workforce.
Yep.
I don't know if tariffs impact you. Like, what are some of the political topics that impact you guys on a great scale?
From a consumer perspective, what we've seen, we have seen very slight decline in international travelers, but it's been at kind of within our lower segments. So within our select service brands and our mid-tier brands, our luxury, haven't seen any impact really. It's kind of interesting.
Rich people still have money.
Right. Yeah. Rich people still travel.
It's everybody else. They're like, oh shit.
Right. What is that? The $10 million visa? You can go anywhere. But it's kind of interesting, the divide that we've seen from a diversity standpoint. We have not changed our stance on diverse hiring, nor will we. We've been committed to that since the very beginning.
Well, you hire. When you hire like Marriott hires. You look like the community.
Yeah,
you look like the community, right?
Exactly.
So I would assume, and I could be really wrong, that was just blended into just the regular hiring practices anyway.
It totally is. And it's interesting. It's like, yes, of course, we put focus on our diversity efforts, but it almost came organically. There was a lot of organic, and that's actually what you want. That's the dream, right?
Yeah.
And so for us, we haven't changed it. We don't need to. We have a wonderful, diverse workforce, and we're going to continue to have one.
Right.
We're at the Unleash conference.
Yep.
And Chad and I have talked to a lot of people. I know you have as well.
Yep.
And my takeaway is there are two schools of thought on the future of recruiting.
Yep.
And I can listen to both of them and agree with both of them.
Yep.
I'll lay them out for you, and I want to get your 2 cents on this. So one side is, today, 80% of recruiting can be done with automation, AI, et cetera, and that recruiting as we know it is going to be gone. There will be new jobs created, but what we know of recruiting today is going to be history sooner than we think. The other side of it is AI won't take your job. Someone who understands and can utilize AI will take your job, and recruiting will just evolve to that reality.
Yep.
Where are you in that argument?
I think it's both. I don't think it's one or the other. I think you're going to see a combination depending on the workforce and who the company is hiring. So FedEx is already doing this, right? So they've completely automated their hiring process for package handlers.
Yeah.
Why? Because package handlers don't talk to anyone. They have a requirement to lift, and that's about it. But for us, we are in the hospitality industry. We have people who talk to guests. And so it's important for us to keep a bit of the human element there, because we need to know whether or not they smile and they're nice and they're polished and whatever else we look for, so that we wouldn't ever automate completely. And so we're on the latter camp. But there's a lot of other companies that probably would benefit fully and do fine from completely automating everything. So I don't necessarily think it's going to be a world where we see 100% automation or not. It's really going to just depend on the company, and at the end of the day, who they're hiring and what they're looking for,
right?
And the degree of trust that they have in AI. That's a whole nother thing. In the startup world, there's a lot more comfort level with AI, and so they're willing to take more risks. Just that's embedded in who they are, right?
Right.
But for a company like us, it's well established. Our risk tolerance is really, really, really low. And so it's funny because we set up this AI council finally. But it's almost like they're looking for reasons not to use AI.
Oh yeah.
Instead of helping us.
Yeah.
It's like the
Are they a bunch of attorneys? That's the question.
Exactly.
Okay. Well, that's the problem.
They're part of it, but like, can you really have an AI counsel without one? I don't know, but
yeah, unfortunately, you're right.
Yeah. So it's just funny. We have to. It's like the 5 layers of no. That you have to get through before actually introducing something. And so I that's another part of it too. Okay. Like there's a lot of companies that are just never going to get there.
Summarize what you just said.
Yeah.
There will be fewer recruiters.
Yeah.
Some organizations will go fully automatic.
Yep.
Others, probably because of brand experience or things that humans need to be a part of it, will not go fully automatic.
Yeah.
I got it. I like it.
Yeah.
Well, and I like it because we keep getting these black or white options, and everything happens in the gray.
Yeah.
Right. So it's like depending on like RTO, right?
Yep.
Your employees had to come to the office anyway, right? Because they had to come to a hotel. They had to do the job, right?
Right.
So you know what the culture is at Marriott. Now the question is though. You have to run a steady balance of, yes, you can't just hire everybody who comes to the door, right? Because they obviously you're a hospitality company, but you also have to be fast because speed kills, right? And if your competitor gets to them faster, you're done.
Yep.
So how do you balance that? That's gonna be almost like a high wire act.
Yeah. So the way that we go about it is like, honestly, like I have a expectation on my recruiters. So I don't have AI screening. That's not something I've introduced yet, but I have a expectation of my recruiters that they move fast. Like I want them eyes on the application. That's a stacked rank, by the way. Like I'm only having them look at qualified people within 24 hours.
Right.
And then within that 24 hours, I want an interview request sent out. Like, so interviews should be scheduled within 24 hours of the apply happening, because otherwise
Oh yeah,
they're gone. They're completely gone. But once you get that one hook, like once you get the first engagement, then they're willing to stick with you. But even then, like from the time that we have that interview reach out to the time the interview is complete, no longer than 3 days. Like it cannot be longer than 3 days. And then we want to get them hired and in the door like within a week, like easily. And I think the biggest opportunity for us, it's like a totally unsexy topic, but freaking background checks take forever.
Really?
Oh God, yeah.
It blows my mind because a lot of these people already have background checks, and it's like you would assume that you could kind of have a repository. I know the background check companies are like, no, we want to continue to do more and more and more. But I mean, if that background check or the credentialing could actually stay with the individual and it's good for 6 months or what have you, you would think that there would be a fucking service for that.
You would think, right? Exactly. But there's not. But to your point, that's how background checks make money.
Oh yeah.
Like, you know.
Well, like everything else, pay per click. Yeah. They don't want to send you the best quality because they just want fucking clicks, right? Or pay per app. You're going to get a shit ton of apps that just aren't qualified. So yeah, I mean, it's like the model.
Right.
Totally. So in light of that, I know that you use a lot of products. We're here in the gym booth, which you're a customer of. Paradox, you mentioned. So you see a lot of products. I'm sure you have a lot of products that you wish existed. A lot of holes that you could fill that aren't out there yet. What would be on your wish list if you could wave a wand for products that you could use today?
Ooh. I would say agentic AI that actually works from the standpoint of here's my pipe dream. It's actually looking at the flow of work, meaning like I'm Megan and I go and I get a job somewhere else. The system knows that I've left. It pops up a message to my job. Hey, do you want to replace Megan?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, great. The requisition's created, the job's posted. All I said was yes. Candidates start coming through. They've been screened, they've been vetted. They're scheduled for an interview. I go from yes to interview.
Yeah.
I engage, I do my interview. I get another thing. Do you want to send an offer out? Yes. Great. Another yes.
Yeah.
Voice recognition, and you're like on your phone, and it's like, Megan, would you like to? Yes.
Exactly. I want to say yes twice and do an interview and hire someone. Like literally, that's my dream.
We should buy yestwice.com.
Yes, exactly.
Yestwice.com.
Yeah. Do you want to hire and do you want to offer?
Yestwice.com.
There's $1 billion idea just from that.
Exactly.
We are live at the gym booth at Unleash in Las Vegas. Meghan, for those that want to know more about you, maybe apply to a job at Marriott.
So careers.marriott.com. Find me on LinkedIn. Happy to engage, ask questions anytime, but it's been a pleasure, gentlemen.
And,
Thank you.
These new Ritz-Carlton big yacht cruises, if you could put in a good word for me, I'd appreciate that. Appreciate that.
Don't do it.
Chad, that is another one in the can.
Yep.
We out.
Thank you for listening to, what's it called? A podcast. The Chad. The Cheese. Brilliant. They talk about recruiting. They talk about technology. But most of all, they talk about nothing. Just a lot of shout-outs of people you don't even know. And yet you're listening. It's incredible. And not one word about cheese. Not one. Cheddar. Blue. Nacho. Pepper jack. Swiss. So many cheeses and not one word. So weird. Anywho, be sure to subscribe today on iTunes, Spotify, Google Play, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. That way you won't miss an episode. And while you're at it, visit www.chatcheese.com. Just don't expect to find any recipes for grilled cheese. It's so weird. We out!